At this time, we will have a public hearing, and I will go ahead and open the public hearing for comment. The first one I have on the list to speak, and again, everyone has been sworn in. This is a quasi-judicial hearing. First one I have on the list is Steve and Connie Hill. So I don't know if Steve want to go first, or if Connie wants to go first. You guys pick it. Okay? If you would, go to the podium, give your name and address for the record.
Good evening. I'm Steve Hill. I live at 615 Monroe Street. Our main concerns are with David King and his facility. It's been an eyesore to the city. It's been an eyesore to our neighborhood. We're not sure of his integrity. There's an article in the paper not too many months ago stating that he had to bring his mess up to standards, or it could possibly be condemned. And I don't know what that means. If that means that he could lose that piece of property if he can't maintain it, where would that leave the lease of the cell tower? If they're leasing this property from him, where does that leave that? Our other concern is, according to what it looks like on the slides, it would seem that the cell tower itself is going to be located somewhere in the 600 block area, a back area of interstate storage, it would seem. I'm not quite sure if that's correct, but if it is, when I look out my front window, I'll be looking directly into it, which is of concern to me because I don't really care to look out my front window and be looking at a cell tower. I'm sure, regardless of what has been stated as far as property values go, I can't see that that's going to be good for my property values. Again, we have a lot of concerns with the interstate storage itself. I think that problem should be addressed before we add more industry in the same block that's not being taken care of now. It's an eyesore. It's a hazard. There's the buildings falling down around the whole neighborhood, and nothing seems to be being done to upgrade it or improve the conditions. And I can't see adding more industry to the same block is going to improve the situation. So I guess that's my concerns. And
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hill.
have any questions for me?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Hill. Connie?
I guess I would have to say that my concerns are the same as Steve's. I have been looking at this property for quite some time. I have done a lot of picture taking, a lot of investigation, a lot of talking to our son that is an engineer. He comes home quite often. He looks at the situation on Jackson Street. He is an environmental engineer. I have not pursued to get anything done. I kept waiting, and I'm waiting for the city to make their move, which I guess is in September. But he keeps saying he's doing things to improve it, and I don't see anything being done to improve it. I have probably 600 pictures. At one time, he said that the building was not accessible from the outside. That is not true. That building could be entered at any time. He said there was no pools of water. That is not true. There is a container that is at the back of the property, and I have pictures of it, that fills with water. The comments that were made to some of the residents on Monroe Street that should we pursue anything to do with interstate storage, he would see to it that the property was condemned. All property surrounding interstate storage. Well, I haven't taken kindly to that. and I've tried to take a back seat because I do sit on some things for the city, because I want to see our city improve and grow. This building, before we pursue entering into something else to go on the property, let's correct the situation that's there, then open this up for improvement for a cell tower. I am not against a cell tower because that's the way of the world, but like Steve said, I don't want to look outside into it. When we look outside now, we look at a building that's falling down around us. And when the cotton mill was operating, I can honestly say it was never like that. They maintained that building. They respected the community around it. I cannot say that Interstate Storage has done that. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Connie. The next one on the list, I believe, is Mr. Jesse, is that Bass?
Yes.
Okay, yes, sir. And again, for the record, if you could give your address, name and address.
My name is Jesse Bass. I live at 510 Jackson Street. One major concern I have about the cell tower is if it will interfere with the wireless system I have in my house. I got Prism, TV, computer, and I have wireless phones. If it's going to interfere with my reception, I would be very unhappy. Since they brought up the building, I'll just mention one thing. About 2 months ago, I was sitting on my front porch with my grandson, which is 2.5 years old, and he said, "Papa, that building is broke. You need to fix it." Sat there a few minutes longer and was swinging. He saw a little smaller place that you could see through the wall, and he says, that building's broke there in a smaller place. I'll fix that. If a 2.5-year-old can see the building needs fixing and tell somebody to fix it, I think the city could have something done about it. Years ago, I had a 76 Ford Granada station wagon that I bought to get the front fender and the hood off to fix my father's car that had been wrecked. When I got that off, I parked it up near the street and put a for sale sign on it because it had a good engine, transmission. All I wanted was the fender and the hood. The city come by and gave me 10 days to get it off my property. So instead of selling the car, I had to give it away. And I declare to you that that building looks a whole lot worse than that car did. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bass. Dr. Chaudhry?
Good evening. I'm Dr. Chaudhary. My office is right across the smelliest and unpleasant odor parking lot in 6 or Jackson Street. And all the time, the trucks are going in and coming in, and dirt is coming towards my office. And sometimes the patients come and ask me where the smell coming, poopy smell coming. We have to call Mr. King's office. Please remove the dumpster. He has not shown any regard for anybody else, that he stores junk there, and we have to live there and smell all the time. And I work every day in my office. That's what I'm experiencing. When a storm comes, hurricane comes, all the garbage comes to my parking lot. I have not seen Mr. King's anybody cleaning. I have to go clean myself. My first request to city is, why is taking so long to take care of this problem? If somebody come to visit to our town, are we able to show to the public, to visiting personality, is a city, it looks like that, Roanoke Rapids? I would not be able to show that. And also the storage, we don't know what is in stores. What kind of chemicals is there is a fire hazard, and is there a fire, what will be danger to the public? I can talk more and more, but I like to limit my comments and add to what other people have said. First, city should take care of, he should take care of the building, and this parking lot should be paved. Then we can talk about the cell tower. I don't see there is any need to a cell tower. There are millions of cell towers you can call anywhere from the country to go to any cell telephone. And I thank you for letting me make that comment.
Thank you, Dr. Chaudhry. Craig Mosley.
Yes, sir. I'm Craig Mosley. I live at 628 Monroe Street. This tower will be almost in my backyard. It's just across the railroad tracks. I'm already, as Steve and Connie and everyone else has said, we're disappointed in what we see when we go outside already, and what's a guarantee that he's going to maintain this part. If he maintains that and lets it grow up like what is done, or fall down like the building's doing in the front on 500 block of Jackson, then, you know, what's to say that it's not going to have problems and aesthetic views of everybody else that comes by? That's my only concern. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mosley. Next, we have, I believe that's Dennis Blackman.
My name's Dennis Blackman. I reside at 512 Jackson Street, and I hate this seems like it's turning into a bash David, but David, folks, is getting tired of it. I mean, the place is looking. I sit on my front porch and hear the stuff flap every time the wind blows. You folks, they come out and they clean. I'm not going to say that because they do. Right after the storm, they're out there, they're getting it up. They cut the grass every week, and I haven't fussed a whole lot because you let me carry my dog over there. And I'm thankful for that. But, yeah, as far as the cell tower, I got some more questions. Her presentation was good, but she had a whole lot of probablys and might not be's that I'd rather see 100% not happen as far as that goes. But my main issue is with the existing building. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Blackman. David King.
I'd like to wait to the end, just so I can answer any questions. You know, I think there's a couple people behind me. Let's talk.
Council, okay with that? Yeah, I'm fine. Okay. Evelyn Dawson.
Good evening, everybody, including Mr. King, with whom I do business. I'm here because I received a letter about a proposed tower which would be, might possibly be erected at 501 Jackson Street. I am the owner of Dawson and Sweat. That company owns the Lynx building, which is located at 500 Jackson Street. And some of you are looking confused. That's the old Chichester building, but it's not Chichester anymore, it's Dawson. Okay, and I'm here because I would like to know the possible negative environmental and health side effects of such a structure. I am also concerned because it appears that it might be a blight on a well-traveled area in our community, which is where my building is located. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Dawson. I don't have anyone else on the list. Mr. King?
Thank you, Mr. Farabee. Obviously, my first comment is going to be, this is the proceeding you have in front of you is a quasi-judicial proceeding about a cell tower. The building issue was addressed back in February. The council has already taken action on that. Certainly, it's been recorded in the Register of Deeds office. Certainly I understand everyone's concerns about that, but that issue has already been discussed, and I'm not here to debate that issue. I'm here as the landowner of a piece of property, a 100 by 100 area that U.S. Cellular would like to construct a cell tower to improve the data coverage in this section of town. In her packet, and of course Kelly didn't have the slide up there on it because it's such a comprehensive packet, but they have proven that there's a hole in their cell coverage for the data, wireless internet and data for U.S. Cellular, which is why they were looking for a site. They have investigated every single site within the search ring that they needed for that hole, including the Sprint Tower that Kelly had a picture of, including the water tower over on 8th Street, every single site, including my water tower on my property, actually. This equipment is so heavy that none of these sites met the engineering requirements for the wires and the antennas. As Kelly said in her presentation, it's only 120 feet tall. There will be no lights associated with it. Actually, in talking with U.S. Cellular last week, there's some question of whether or not they're even going to need the triangle on the top. It may just be one single pole standing up, which, as she said, would be lower than the smokestack or the current water tower. So far as interference with household appliances, wireless telephones, etc., everything U.S. Cellular does has to meet the FCC requirements, and that is strictly regulated, including police and fire ban interference. That has to be proven beyond a shadow of a doubt before the FCC will grant U.S. Cellular a license on that. As far as maintaining the site, that will be U.S. Cellular's responsibility. That is their tower, their equipment. They will have work crews come in to install the tower, but certainly we have enough area there for them to put their equipment, and when they use a crane to erect the tower, it should not impact any of the neighborhood. As she said, there's no employees that are going to be there. It's just a tower. Just one pole standing up on the back side of the property by the train tracks. Mr. Farabee, while I'm here, if the council has any questions for me, I'll certainly do my best to answer them.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. King.
I don't have any questions.
Thank you. We have called all the names that we have on the list that have signed up. Seeing there are no other names, I declare the public hearing to be closed.